As Cleveland's new stadium negotiations heat up, Jimmy Haslam has found the perfect distraction: chaos. The turbulence surrounding Shedeur Sanders, Joe Flacco's shocking departure, and Dylan Gabriel's uncertain future isn't just collateral, it's currency. Every headline about the Browns' quarterback carousel shifts attention, stirs public debate, and builds momentum for Haslam's larger financial ambitions. In the middle of it all, Sanders becomes more than a quarterback. He's a storyline that sells both tickets and taxpayer trust. This isn't just sports management. It's spectacle as strategy. Haslam has transformed Cleveland's season into a marketing engine that powers everything from TV ratings to political leverage. The suspense around Sanders' debut, the unpredictability of roster moves, the steady drumbeat of drama, all of it sustains attention in ways wins and losses never could. The Browns may be fighting for playoff relevance, but Haslam's real victory is already unfolding off the field, where narrative drives profit and control reign supreme. The Cleveland Browns aren't playing football. They're producing it. What's happening in Cleveland right now isn't about building a team or chasing wins. It's about building a narrative, a spectacle, a story that captures headlines and fuels conversations, with Shedeur Sanders sitting dead center like the star show that hasn't premiered yet. And Jimmy Haslam? He's the showrunner. He's not trying to fix the franchise the traditional way. He's making it interesting. And in 2025, that's what sells. The way Haslam has handled this quarterback situation is not normal. It's not even subtle. It's calculated. And it's loud. Shedeur Sanders, arguably one of the most talented prospects out of college, isn't playing. Not because he isn't capable. Not because he isn't ready. But because his absence is more valuable than his presence. Keeping him on the bench has become the Browns' main storyline. They've turned waiting into marketing. Every week he sits, the questions grow, the drama escalates, the tension builds. That's the strategy. Haslam is banking on the suspense being more engaging than the actual games. And let's be honest, it kind of is. Fans aren't talking about stats. They're talking about when is Shedeur to play? When is the team going to make the obvious move? When is this circus going to stop? But stopping the circus would mean stopping the attention. And Haslam clearly isn't ready to do that. Because attention equals money. There's merch being sold. Clicks being generated. Social media posts going viral. The Browns aren't just in the news. They are the news. And it's not because they're winning. It's because they're unpredictable. And then there's Dylan Gabriel. Another quarterback caught in this mess. And it is a mess. Gabriel isn't playing poorly. He's barely playing at all. His role isn't to lead the team. It's to fill time. He's the placeholder. The quiet body keeping the seat warm until Shedeur is unleashed. But here's the problem. Gabriel's not just being passed over. He's being erased. There's no plan for him. No narrative. No real attempt to develop or showcase him. He's just a name on the roster, floating between irrelevance and damage control. Because giving him the spotlight would pull attention away from the one person this entire machine is built around. And then there's the Joe Flacco trade. The Browns didn't just let a veteran walk. They moved him to a division rival, in the middle of the season, without warning, without a clear explanation.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Explanation. A move like that isn't football logic. It's a plot twist. Something to light up the news cycle. Something to get fans arguing, debating, speculating. It worked. Flacco's exit didn't stabilize the team. It destabilized it further. Which, for Haslam, was a point. Because a stable Browns roster doesn't trend. A chaotic one does. And through it all, Kevin Stefanski is the one forced to answer for it. He's stuck in the middle of a media strategy disguised as a depth chart. He's being asked to justify moves he probably didn't make. Every press conference is him walking a tightrope, trying to say something without saying anything, while the actual decisions are being made far above his head. This isn't coaching. It's containment. Because make no mistake, this quarterback situation isn't organic. It's orchestrated. Every move, every delay, every carefully timed leak is part of a broader plan. keep Shedeur Sanders in conversation without actually putting him on the field. Because when he finally does start, that moment has to land. It has to hit like an event, a franchise reset, a storyline payoff. His debut isn't just about performance. It's about proving that all of this chaos, all of this waiting, all of this strategy was worth it. And that's the real risk. The Browns have now attached the entire identity of the season, and possibly the next few seasons, to one player's first appearance. That's not just pressure. That's a branding gamble. And if Shedeur underdelivers, if he looks raw, inconsistent, or even just okay, the fallout will be massive. Because fans will look back and see what was sacrificed, the potential wins lost, the chemistry disrupted, the veterans pushed out, the drama milked beyond its expiration date, and worst of all, the trust that got traded for attention. But Haslam's not thinking about that. He's thinking about the stadium. Yes, the billion-dollar stadium project that's conveniently tied to all of this, because this is where the spectacle really becomes strategic. Haslam isn't just selling a quarterback. He's selling a vision, a new era, a new identity, a fresh start tied to a new building. An emotional hook that drives that narrative? Shedeur Sanders. He is the symbol, the future, the pitch. His story is being positioned as a proof that the franchise is evolving, that it's worth investing in, that it's finally becoming what fans have waited for. A new face, a new chapter, a new home. But that pitch falls apart if Shedeur doesn't deliver. And that's why his playing time is being treated like a cliffhanger. Because the longer they wait, the bigger the debut becomes. And the bigger the debut becomes, the more pressure they create. The Browns are gambling everything on one moment. They're not managing a roster. They're managing a launch. And Shedeur, he's being treated like a product rollout. That's not just risky, it's unprecedented. Even in a league that thrives on hype, there's still supposed to be a line between entertainment and competition. But the Browns have erased that line completely. Their season has become a marketing funnel, and the product at the end of that funnel hasn't even taken the field yet. So what happens if he does deliver? What if Shedeur comes and lights up the field and turns all of this chaos into a comeback story? Then Haslam wins. The media gives him credit for playing the long game. The fans forgive the confusion. The stadium pitch gets momentum. And the Browns are reborn as both a team and a brand. But that's the best case scenario. And it's a narrow one, because even great quarterbacks need time, and development, and reps, none of which Shedeur is getting. The Browns are treating him like a fully formed icon before he's played a single reel down. That's not support, that's pressure. And it's the kind of pressure that can break a player long before it builds him. This is the danger of turning a season into a storyline. You stop managing for success. You start managing for suspense. And when the suspense finally breaks, you better hope what's waiting on the other side lives up to the hype. The fans? They're still watching, still waiting, still hoping that all of this means something, that the chaos is leading to clarity, that the benching is building to brilliance. But their patience isn't infinite, and their loyalty isn't guaranteed. At some point, the Browns have to play football again. Not just PR, not just positioning, not just teasing. Because the longer they delay, the more this feels like a show, and the less it feels like a team. If you've been riding this roller coaster of cryptic moves, quarterback limbo, and front office theater, drop a comment and let us know. Are you still buying the hype? Or are you done waiting for a debut that's been delayed into oblivion? Hit that like if you think the Browns need to quit the spectacle and finally let Shedeur play. And subscribe to stay tapped in. Because whether this ends in triumph or disaster, one thing for sure. It's going to be loud. And here we are, still in limbo, still staring at the scoreboard, not for the game, but for the next headline. The Cleveland Browns aren't asking for your support anymore. They're asking for your attention. And Jimmy Haslam, he's making sure they get it. Let's not pretend this is just a rookie quarterback development arc. It's not. This is a full-blown media strategy, executed in cleats and helmets. The Shedeur Sanders saga has gone far beyond the football field. He's the face of manufactured slow burn that's holding the franchise hostage, and fans are starting to feel it, because now Every week without him feels less like strategy and more like manipulation. You show up expecting answers. Instead, you get cryptic pressers, confusing depth charts, and a quarterback room that feels more like a theater cast list than a functional part of the team. Gabriel stands there, technically the starter, but narratively irrelevant. He's not part of the future, and everyone knows it, including him. And Flacco? Gone. Mid-season. Sent off like a plot twist, not a football decision. That move said everything about what this season actually is. A production, not a pursuit. And the scariest part? It's working. Every week people tune in, not because the team is dominating, but because they're fascinated. They want to see what happens next. When will Shedeur play? What's Haslam's next move? What controversy will drop between Monday and Sunday? That's the trap, because now the Browns are stuck. They built this season on a slow-release spectacle. They made Shedeur's debut the singular payoff for months of confusion. And once that moment comes, there's no more suspense to sell, no more mystery to hide behind. The debut has to hit, or it all collapses. Let's talk about pressure. Because the pressure on Shedeur right now is unreal. He's not just being asked to perform. He's being asked to redeem, to walk onto the field, and make sense of a season that has stopped making sense. To justify every strange trade, every weird silence, every choice that prioritized buzz over balance. That's not quarterback pressure. That's franchise pressure. That's politics meets media meets football pressure. And no rookie deserves that. But here's the reality. He's in it now. Because the Browns didn't just bet on him as a player. They bet on him as a brand. As the centerpiece of their reintroduction. The guy they built not just a team around, but an identity around. That's why his absence isn't just puzzling, it's strategic. Haslam is trying to build something bigger than a rookie campaign. He's trying to orchestrate a moment, one that resonates across fan bases, media outlets, and political circles. Because that billion-dollar stadium deal, that's not in a separate folder. It's part of the same playbook. This isn't about what Shedeur can do with the ball. It's about what he can do for the narrative, for the rebrand, for the financial future of the franchise. He's not being groomed. He's being marketed. But you can only stretch anticipation so far. At some point, suspense turns into fatigue. Fans start to feel less curious and more used. And the Browns are right on that edge. What used to feel like build-up now feels like avoidance. What used to spark intrigue now sparks skepticism. It's not just the fans, either. The locker room sees it. These are professionals. They know when the football logic isn't adding up. They know when decisions aren't being made to win games. And that wears down trust, from the players to the coaches to the equipment room. Kevin Stefanski is caught in the worst possible position. He's being asked to execute a football season while navigating a PR campaign he doesn't control. Every time he's in front of a mic, it's like watching a man try to explain a story he wasn't told. And eventually, that disconnect catches up with everyone. There's no consistency, no plan, just one massive weight. And what's worse, that weight isn't even about performance anymore. It's about timing. Haslam is waiting for the moment that gives him the most return. The game with the most eyes. The weekend with the right media vacuum. The scenario where Shedeur's debut can't just be big. It has to feel big. Because this isn't about wins. It's about impact. That's why the Flacco trade happened when it did. That's why Gabriel's role remains so undefined. That's why every decision feels like it was tested with a focus group before it hit the field. It's not football. It's rollout management. And it's a dangerous game. Because eventually fans stop waiting. They stop believing. They stop caring. That's the risk Haslam is playing with. And he knows it. The only way this all works, the only way, is if Shedeur comes in and dominates. Not just wins a game. Not just plays well. He has to live up to a mountain of expectations that were built without him even being allowed to participate. That's not how you develop a quarterback. That's how you create a scapegoat. Because if he doesn't deliver, the fingers start pointing fast. And none of them will be aimed at the front office. They'll go straight to Shedeur. He'll be blamed for the season that's already been thrown off course. For the confusion that started long before his first snap. For the strategy that made him a symbol before it let him be a player. That's the most dangerous part of all this. The Browns are making Shedeur both the product and the excuse. But here's what they forget. Fans didn't fall in love with Shedeur Sanders because of a marketing campaign. They saw the talent, the leadership, the way he carried himself in college under constant pressure. They saw the real football reasons to believe. But instead of building on that, the Browns built around it. They turned him into an idea before they turned him into a quarterback. And now he has to deliver both. All eyes are on Cleveland, not because they're winning, but because they're teasing. A never-ending campaign for a moment that still hasn't happened. And when it does, it has to be worth everything. The lost games, the weird trades, the strange silences, the players left behind, the teammates sidelined. Because if it's not, then this won't just be a misstep. It'll be a total implosion of trust. A reminder that the Browns didn't just gamble a season. They gambled the credibility of the entire organization for content. Because through all the noise, all the trades, all the locker room whispers and media distractions, Shedeur Sanders still hasn't taken a regular season snap. It's been months of buildup, of baiting, of holding the fan base in a state of suspended animation. And nothing. No announcement. No timetable. No accountability. Just the same cryptic signals from the top and a quarterback room that functions more like a set piece than a position group. This isn't a rebuild. It's a performance. And it's gone on too long. Jimmy Haslam has rebranded the Cleveland Browns into a content platform. The franchise isn't competing on the field right now. It's competing on a timeline. Engagement is a currency. Relevance is the goal. And the product? Suspense. Manufactured, packaged, and extended beyond all reason. Let's be clear. Shedeur Sanders is not the problem. He didn't ask for this. He didn't pull the strings. He didn't create this circus. But he's trapped in it. And by the time he finally takes the field, it won't just be a test of his football ability. It'll be a referendum on everything the Browns have become under Haslam's direction. That's the tragedy here. A quarterback with real talent and massive potential is being used as a storyline. His actual development has been put on hold for the sake of optics, timing, and maximum emotional impact. The Browns are doing what no team should ever do with a rookie QB, making him wait for the moment instead of making him ready for it. They're more concerned with the effect of the debut than the substance behind it, more interested in when he plays and how he plays. And that's not just risky, it's reckless, because when that moment finally arrives, and it won't happen in a vacuum. It'll come with months of unresolved tension, unmet expectations, and a media storm that's been bottled up and shaking for far too long. No rookie should have to walk into that, especially not one expected to carry a franchise narrative before he carries a game. But here's the corner Haslam has painted himself into. The Browns have no other payoff left. They traded the veteran. They iced the backup. They dismantled the quarterback room for drama. They passed on competitive cohesion in favor of a high-stakes waiting game. And now there's only one thing left that can make any of this make sense. Shedeur Sanders being undeniable from day one. That's the only way this ends well. If he comes in and lights it up, the Browns get to rewrite the chaos. Suddenly, the Flacco trade becomes making room. The delay becomes calculated patience. The Gabriel freeze-out becomes tough decisions for long-term gains. The entire narrative flips if Sanders explodes. But what if he doesn't? What if he struggles under the weight of 1,000 unrealistic expectations? What if the pressure of the debut, of the franchise politics, of the overproduced rollout suffocates the momentum he should have had from day one? Then what? Because right now, the Browns have nothing in place to absorb that failure. There's no veteran to step back in, no coherent plan B, no structure in the locker room built for damage control. If this gamble fails, it doesn't just cost them games, it could cost them years. This isn't just about Shedeur's first start. It's about everything they've sacrificed to turn that start into a show. And if the show flops, you can't just shrug it off. You can't just move on to the next episode. You've already burned through every supporting arc to get here. And the fans? They're not going to stick around for season 2 of this. Because this fan base has already endured more than its share of heartbreak, mediocrity, and dysfunction. They've been through false starts, overhyped prospects, Coaching carousel disasters. They were finally starting to believe that things were moving in the right direction, and now it feels like that belief is being exploited, like the emotional investment of the fan base is being used not to build a winner, but to sell a storyline. And what does that say to the players? The ones busting their bodies every week while the organization plays PR chess? There's no faster way to lose a locker room than to convince the team that decisions are being made for the wrong reasons, that the best players don't play, that the game plan is secondary to the camera angles, that management cares more about trending than tackling, because players don't buy into storylines. They buy into trust, consistency, competence, none of which the Browns have shown this season. The coaching staff is stuck in a reactive cycle, forced to answer for decisions they didn't make. The players are caught in a performance they didn't audition for. And the fans? They're being asked to keep waiting, keep hoping, keep watching, even as the product on the field continues to feel like an afterthought. And for what? For one debut, one moment, one quarterback who, talented as he may be, now carries the entire weight of narrative that should have never been placed on his shoulders. Shedeur Sanders isn't just a player anymore. He's a resolution to a franchise-wide soap opera. And the second he takes the field, the story changes forever. One way or another. If he succeeds, the Browns get pretend it was all part of the plan, that this chaos was calculated, that the ends justified the means. But if he doesn't, then all this chaos becomes a cautionary tale about what happens when you treat a season like a marketing campaign, about what happens when you treat a quarterback like a press release, about what happens when you lose the plot in pursuit of buzz. Because hype doesn't win games. Clicks don't move the chains. PR strategy doesn't get you to the playoffs. Football does. And the Cleveland Browns used to know that. Let us know what you think. Has this been a brilliant long play? Or has Haslam completely overplayed his hand? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if you're ready for the games to matter more than headlines. And subscribe for every breakdown as the Sanders era finally begins. Because ready or not, Cleveland's biggest gamble is about to take the field. And there's no script left to hide behind.